So we're going to call this meeting to order at 6:07. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so I am trying to be Rebecca tonight, but I'm not Rebecca, and I'm not as good at this as Rebecca, so just bear with me. And I'm going to try to call it by 8:30 because I don't like to drive in the snow. So, keeping quick. Okay, public input. So I'm supposed to answer the last one first. Okay. So Rebecca left this piece of paper for me to read. The question was, are the final financials available for the 24-25 school year? The answer is yes. We can post these on the SAU 69 website under the school board agendas tab under the financials link. The next question, will the walking path that was recently improved as part of the Eagle Scout project be properly maintained and kept clear during the winter months since it is now a town evacuation route? This is a great question and should be discussed by the board. Third question, did the 3 warrant articles get funded at the end of fiscal year 24-25? The answer is no. There was not any unreserved fund balance to fund the warrant articles. 4, how is the school care insurance shortfall going to be paid? The answer, the school board approved paying this assessment at their November 12, 2025 board meeting. The assessment was paid with revenue from fiscal year 2025. Question 5, is the video available to view? And at what meeting was it voted on to send out with ParentSquare? The answer, video information was shared at the November 12, 2025 public input responses. There was no vote regarding releasing the video with ParentSquare. 6, there was a request for electric bills for 1 year to be used for an application for an energy savings program. And Kathy said she emailed the person who asked for it already. Okay. And there was a question about whether the budget information will be posted 7 days in advance of the budget adoption. And the answer here is yes, the requirement will be posted in 3 places. House Bill 1265, Students First Act, is required to be posted 7 days, excluding Sunday and holidays, in advance of the budget being adopted by the school district. We confirmed with legal counsel that this was for the deliberative session or annual meeting, not for tonight. Okay. Now there's 15 minutes for any other public input if anybody else has some. Okay. Should I give her this mic?
Get the mic to see. Get the mic.
If I have to hear
Here, sure. You want to come? You have to stand up. We can come up if you want.
Do you need emotional support?
I do.
So we're here today on behalf of the ASL Capitals, the PTO. We've been working on reviving it over the past few months, and we have been working really hard trying to fundraise so we can help support the kids in the school. One of the fundraisers that we just finished up for the month of November was our sock fundraiser. We raised about $78 for that. It was pretty easy and simple, so we look at it as a success. But our long-term fundraiser that we're doing for the whole school year is theschoolstore.com. And we have only had this up and going for events. And then also another component of this fundraiser is that people can choose to give gift cards to either students, and the gift cards can buy books and other learning material. But the other really cool thing is they can buy gift cards for the teachers. And these gift cards can go specifically towards one website. It's the Caring for Classrooms website, and it basically allows the teachers to buy any kind of materials that they would need for their class. And I'm really, really happy to say that so far we have raised $3,210 in gift cards for the teachers. So I printed out the gift cards for the teachers, and each one has a card with their gift card, and it's great because they're able to get things from their classroom and support the kids. So
shout out to the parents as well. I shouldn't say parents, caregivers, families, because it's a pretty, like Christine said, it's pretty easy. I think this is going to run through the end of the school year, so it's a passive fundraiser. Essentially, the kids are sent home with little lanyards. Parents probably saw those, and the kids are able to earn their own little book buddies and points. But really, I mean, everyone was just like, cool, I got a little snap bracelet. And they can, people can go on whoever you send an email invite to, or if they click an external link, they can go on, they can shop through, I think there's like 300 different vendors. So really shout out to the family and the community and everybody who's been purchasing through that too. That's really contributed to the overall fundraiser and also the gift cards.
thank you very much, and hopefully we'll have more news next month.
Thank you, Christine, Nicole, and Pinky. And just for the record, I bought 6 pairs of socks.
Oh, I haven't, I saw one.
Roxanne, or do you guys have anything personal? Okay. Okay. Agenda review. Is there?
I just wanted to put the academic affairs toward the end of the chairperson's report, so if we run out of time on the budget, we can decide if we're going to do that for this meeting next week.
Okay.
I would do a motion to move the down to D.
Okay. Does anyone want to say anything on the motion?
I'll second motion.
All right. Should we do a vote? All in favor? Aye. 4-0. Any other review? Okay. So we have the acceptance of minutes. There's the November 12th Finance Committee meeting, and the only person there was Heather. Oh, no, Heather and Nicole. I'm sorry. Heather and Nicole, do you want to?
Make a motion to approve the November 12th Finance Committee minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Heather, are you in favor?
Yes.
Nicole? Yes. Okay. And the November 12th Academic Affairs Committee meeting minutes, and that was me and Samantha. So Samantha, are you good with the minutes? Do you want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the November 12th Academic Affairs Committee meeting.
And I'll second. Samantha, are you in favor?
Aye.
I also. Okay, and then for the actual board minutes for November 12th,
I'll make a motion to approve the November 12th, 25 school board meeting minutes.
I'll second the motion.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. First, for superintendent's report is Middleton Elementary School update. Principal Elizabeth Carlson.
Thank you. I, again, have a lot to say, so I apologize, everybody. A lot has happened in the last month at MES. I'd like to share that we had a reunification meeting with the New Durham schools, area police chiefs and fire chiefs, and New Hampshire Homeland Security Office to begin discussions about school safety and reunification after a significant event. I've been working with the police as well to collaborate around lockdown drills. And we anticipate one soon. In addition, I'd like to share that MES has applied for the state safety grant, and I've applied for the following things: interior and exterior camera upgrades, outside speakers so that we can hear outside of the building, better walkies. Ours are in need of an upgrade, and a bollard to protect the entrance over by the parking lot. And I'll keep everybody posted about whether or not we are awarded any portion of that grant. It came in 3 separate chunks, so I am hopeful that we can move forward with those projects with grant funding. I'd like to share that our student concert is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in this space. It's K3 and our chorus, and I would like to just shout out to Mr. Kelleher and to our teachers in those grade levels, because our chorus and band have grown tremendously in the last year. We have, I think, at this point, over 30 kids in chorus. So that feels like double. I don't know if it is, but it feels like double to me what we had last year. Really excited about the growth of that music program. So please come out. I want to say thank you to our PTA for their continued support. This was so lovely. Thank you, guys. They came in the last month to support a 6th grade sewing project. As you came in, you might have seen the ornaments that they were working with. That is definitely a all-hands-on-deck situation, teaching 6th graders to sew. So we really appreciate your support. We're going to be doing a crafting project with the school for Christmas or holiday ornaments at the end of the month. I wanted to also share that we are having our next meeting at MES at 3:45 on December 19th. Would really love to have people come out for those meetings. We've been getting a lot of really good work done. In the last month, we had our first school dance. So we had a separate during the school day practice dance for our kids in kindergarten through 2nd grade, so that they'll be ready for the next one. And then we had an after-school dance for grades 3 through 6. It was really well attended. We had Haven come and visit the school in the last month to talk with students about personal body safety. And that was really, really powerful and a lot of fun for our kids too as they learned about healthy boundaries. We completed our math look and learns with K6 teachers having the opportunity to go out, observe another teacher and be observed, and then during some of their academic collaboration time, get a chance to debrief as a team, both Middleton and Governor Wentworth teachers, and discuss strategies and best practices. So we are continuing to learn and grow as a school and improve our math practices. This weekend, breakfast at Candyland will be here in the multi-purpose room from 8 to 11. That's on Saturday. It's in collaboration with the rec, and our Alpaca Palace PTA are going to support as well. Breakfast, crafts, and a visit with Santa. And the rec is providing gifts for students who come, or Middleton kids who come. This month we also had a number of students compete for the Lions Peace Poster Contest. One of our students, Aubrey Daniels, won for our local Lions Club. So that is, Lions Club is not just a Middleton organization, but it's an area organization, and she went on to compete at the state level. We're really proud of her. We've got a field trip to the Rochester Opera House next week for grades 3 and 4. They're going to go see A Christmas Carol, which is a great opportunity. And then I'm super excited to let people know that Second Wind has completed our arsenic project. So once our 4th quarter water testing is complete, we're going to be getting back to our normal drinking water fountains, which we are very excited about. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who was helping push that project along and get it done. And that is my update.
Oh, that's very good news. Any questions for Ivy? Okay, excellent. A lot of wonderful things happened and is still happening coming up for that concert's running. So next on superintendent report is school calendar 2020 the board to take action. We just approved a very similar calendar. Governor Wentworth Regional School District Board approved this start and end dates on Monday night at their meeting. So your 7 through 12 students will have that calendar. We polled all families to find out if they preferred either before or after Labor Day start, due to the dates being very late next year. And that, we still want to offer the building for elections. And I know that is the case for Middleton. So given that, we were looking at the first day of school being an election day and then not starting school until September 9th. So that prompted us to turn to the community to actually ask the question, what do you prefer? And we had significant preference results of families preferring to start before Labor Day rather than going to the bitter end of June. So we have this draft calendar for the board to vote on. It has a first day of school of September 1st and the last day of school, June 17th, pending snow makeup. So I would welcome that motion.
Just to note that traditionally we do not always vote in school. We've done presidential elections here, but we do not do all of our elections here.
Do we want to make a motion or do we have discussion?
We go to this. So I'll take a motion to get started that we approve the calendar as written.
Okay. I'll second that motion. Do we have any discussion?
You want to take a vote? It's on here, it's voting.
Yeah, the poll is overwhelming.
Okay, so we'll go for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
And then lastly are the financials. If the board has any questions for us, please let us know. They are in your packet.
I do have questions regarding the special education budget. I just want to go over some of these figures and where these increases are coming from. So I'm looking on page 2.
Hold on one second.
So the professional pupil services. The proposed is just under 300,000, but most of 110 last year.
That's on page 1.
I'm looking at the proposed from last time, so I apologize. That's where I have my notes.
Are you looking at the financials or the budget?
So the financials are just for the last month.
We're not doing budget now.
We're doing budget,
I apologize.
no worries, yeah. So financials, this is what we provide you in your packet just for the past month.
did we have any more questions on financials? Okay, so we can move on then. Do you have anything for the bus driver update?
I do not, but I know that there was a meeting.
All right.
So Rebecca and I did meet with the bus drivers, and they expressed a couple of concerns for us. They basically said we have 3 different licenses that we have, and we're all getting paid the same thing, no matter how many years we've been here, and no matter what our licenses is or what bus we're driving. They also said that we are working close to full-time hours because we're only running 2 large buses. So we had conversations about how we can get us up to a 3-bus schedule. So that's something that the board needs to talk about, is where we are, because we only have 2 full-size buses at this time. So we need to figure out a plan and how we're going to get the 3rd bus so that we can get that 3rd bus driver and get that up and running. We don't want them to get into the position of being full-time necessarily or running afoul of that, so we want to make sure we get that 3rd bus up and running. So after the meeting, we came up with a tiered system, and I passed that around to the board to consider based on their whether they have a school bus certificate or a CDLC license, and then whether they're driving a van or a special ed bus, and then full bus drivers. So those are your 3 categories of rates of pay, and then we had it broken down by 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, and 10 plus years. And we started on the low end, 0 to 5 years for a van bus driver, 20 per hour, going up to 23 per hour for the 10-year. And then we had 21 per hour for the special ed bus driver, up to 24, depending on where you are. And then for the full bus, 25 to 29 per hour. So that puts us in line with what bus drivers are making in neighboring communities. And I think it gives a scale that allows for their experience, for their, what they actually have for a particular license. So depending on what they're driving, they'll get paid accordingly. We also built in a longevity bonus, so if you've been there for more than 5 years, you would get a percentage of your pay as a bonus once a year, and then again, over 10 years, they would get the longevity bonus. There was some expression that people are staying because they like the students, but they're not, they could go elsewhere and get paid a heck of a lot more. So we wanted to honor that in a way that made sense. So the idea is this would put a pay scale in place that would be in place for a couple of budget cycles, depending on how the economy goes. So there's a clear expectation of where people are on that scale and how they're going to move through that in the future. And so that was just something that we came up with. I think it would make sense to put this in place for the next budget cycle, but I leave that for discussion.
So the pay scale, would this also, would they be eligible for, if we did a cost of living raise to each budget, or is this what they're at for years 5 through 10 or 10 plus? Or would they still be eligible for that increase each year?
I think that's going to be up to the board and the board to decide.
So the longevity bonus, would that be once, or would that be every year from 5 years, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then from 10 years?
We had it written out as every year, but we can adjust that. We had it at 3% of the annual pay for 5 to 10, and then 5% for 10. This has not been shown to the bus drivers at this point. They didn't have any input. This all came from the conversations and what Rebecca wants to put together. But they were talking about, 32 an hour for communities and, 28 an hour in other communities. So we thought that this made sense
now or starting next year to put in his budget?
So there are some people that, based on where they are, you may not, like, okay, they're being paid 21 plus an hour. So some people who would normally make 20, they're going to keep their same rate of pay until they move into the next pay category, that would bump them up to 22 an hour. Didn't feel right to lower them down just because, you know, we're putting pay scale in place now, we're getting higher.
So, do you think we need to vote on this, or if we're putting it into the budget, would it be part of what we're voting on the budget, or?
You would want, if you want to move forward with this, someone should make a motion on this separately.
I'll move to approve the bus driver pay scale as written. Second, and then discussion.
No, I'll second. So, now, does it have discussion?
So just a question, so based off of the information that Dave shared with us at last meeting, the bus drivers are currently making 21 hours an hour.
21, 22.
Regardless of their license or their years.
So with Dave, how old is he?
A long time.
Oh, right here, 13 years, so he would be bumped to $29 an hour.
And we get longevity bonuses. Yeah, here's the CDL. We have one other CDL driver currently. We have one who does the special ed bus, and then one has the school bus certificate. I don't know, did we hire someone for the vacant position or?
I believe so.
I don't know where they fall.
I think the only thing I'm hung up on is the longevity bonus, and I say that because I worry that that's something you won't want to by others, by other groups of employees. And to pay that every year, I think maybe if there was a one-time, like hey, when you reach your 5th year, and then when you reach your 10th year, but I think that's really the number one is the possibility of doing it every year. And then when the teachers want to negotiate their CBA, they know that the bus drivers are getting this, so they try to, why aren't we getting the longevity bonus? But that's just an interest.
I mean, we can have to take that out. I mean, it's a everyday raise for Sunday.
Now, do people get the same whether they're driving the van or the bus? I kind of agree with Nicole, kind of the longevity points too.
Yeah,
I'm on the fence about it.
again, this has not been presented to anyone. We can vote to take that out.
I feel like Dave would be very satisfied with the pay scale and what he bumped up to. So I think maybe we start there and, after the 2027, 2028 school year, things, well, you're talking about it,
concerns and things like that, feedback about their pay, then we can reconsider something to further entice them to stay, but or we make it just one kind of thing, not every year.
Right, so that should be stuff for sure. The emotional stuff.
So I'll make a motion to remove the longevity bonuses from the proposed bus driver pay scale.
Oh,
Was that-
So she did an amendment, so we will have. So we'll vote on the amendment to strike the longevity bonuses from the bus driver pay scale. All in favor of the amendment? Aye. And then, we will vote on the original as amended. Okay, so the original motion was to approve the bus driver pay scale, so are we approving the bus driver pay scale as amended by the amendment? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. All in favor?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, and then we voted to move academic affairs, which gets us to the finance committee update, so Heather, I'm handing you my phone.
We have to go over.
No, I think we're just doing it.
Yeah, please,
Okay, so who am I handing to, Carolyn?
I think for the question mark.
So this is you had your preliminary budget review at the last meeting. This meeting on the agenda under Finance Committee is final budget adoption. So we've included the same presentation as that we prepared last time, and I'm happy to review any part of it or answer questions. And the board may make a motion tonight. That's up to you. The deadline is January 13th, so you could adopt tonight, or you could adopt at the January meeting. However, I know that you are also aware of the budget committee meeting information as well. So any questions for us?
Yeah. Now I'm on page two.
Okay.
I wasn't sure about that one.
Oh, okay.
It's not one that-
So I just thought that was.
I don't generally give them.
Test.
What's that? All right, so on page two, there's the line item for the professional pupil services. So the actual that we spent last year was 110 and change, and the budget went up to, or the budgeted amount was 251, so we didn't spend what we budgeted last year. But now we're looking to up that again to almost 300,000. So I'm trying to understand why we didn't spend what we had budgeted last year. We're upping it so drastically for the upcoming year.
So you're looking at professional people services?
Yes.
Yes, so we're proposing 299,250, an increase of $47,750, 18.99%.
But that's 47,000 over the 251. And we didn't even spend 251, we only spent 110.
That was last year, yes. The budget this year is 251. We're on track to spend that this year.
Okay.
At the pupil services that we just looked at for the month, we've already spent over $100,000 of that. So we're on track to spend half of that midway through the year. So that's where that number comes from, in that we're projecting an increase for those services. And those are contracts So those are contracts for services, BCBA, which is a board certified behavior analyst. That is a specialist who works with Middleton students and has to oversee the behavior technicians. So they're like paraprofessionals who work with students.
Can I ask a question? It's up to you.
It's up to you, or you can wait for public input, it's up to you.
Go ahead.
So this professional people services line, is that for K through 12, or is that just for K through 6, or is that for?
It's K through 12. Special education lines are for all special education.
So, all special education meaning up through Kingswood.
Yes.
For Middleton students,
Or
so your students from Middleton are all in here, yes.
So pre-K through 12.
Yes. However, they're for contracts. The pupil services are for contracts. So it could be that a BCBA is working with a couple students here, or it could be a contract for a speech and language pathologist at the high school.
So those are only essentially what we're paying out for those services to be provided. That's separate than the wages for the people that we're using.
Your own are in wages, correct?
You guys can go.
So I'll ask the question, of when you said the wages, which is that 1,200, 100 line for special education and wages, that's just for pre-K to 6.
Correct, because you don't have staff up there at this time.
Anything else on the paraprofessional? Ask my question. Okay, for the legal services, I noticed we spent this just under what we had budgeted. We budgeted 3,000.
Can you say what page you're on?
I say page number 2. We're right under the line we just finished.
Okay.
Yep. 2,989. So we went from a $3,000 budget up to 7,000. So I just wanted to hear what the explanation was for that, going on the double from what we actually spent last year.
And that's still in special education?
Yes, yeah.
That is the anticipated legal costs that we have.
For special education.
Yes, because that's in the special education section.
And is that for all K through 12?
Yes. Yep. Because it could be a special ed legal need for any student in special education.
So can I ask, I don't see that in this year's budget. Meaning, what would, if I look at tonight's financials through November, is that one, so we didn't have this budget last year, or am I missing that? This month?
Actually, no, you're right, there was 0. I'm looking at 25, budget was 3,000.
If we end up having any special education legal costs, then I will obviously have to have a budget transfer from the special education director to move money into the budget for this line.
The other one, special ed, that we see an increase in the tuition and other LEAs.
That's out of district placements.
Out of district placements. How many students do we have currently that are doing out of district?
And private. So the other LEAs and then private. Let's see, so the tuition LEAs, that is for at Kingswood. So we have services for students at Kingswood because it's tuition, but it's other LEAs, so that's the other public school. Whereas tuition private, that's for out of district placement. I think there's 2. I think there are 2.
Okay. And is that from K through, the tuition for private out of the district is K through 12?
Oh, I have it right here. There are actually 3. So one, school year tuition, including the summer at Stratford Learning Center. The second student is at St. Charles. It's an elementary student. And then the third student is at the Birchwood Behavioral Academy. And that's $300,000.
The Kingswood ones are both middle school and high school.
Yes.
Scott?
I just had a question on that. That was kind of where my previous question was, but we weren't there, but now we've got that. So when you're doing your tuition agreement and you're calculating your tuition for students as far as middle school and high school, is that accounted for with the out-of-school, out-of-district placement? Meaning, in other words, are we paying a tuition rate for the student to Kingswood and paying for another placement?
No,
Or is it
definitely
just
not.
one? Okay.
Definitely not. So if you have a student who's in 9th grade at a special private out-of-district placement for special education purposes, they do not get, there's no Kingswood tuition charge.
Okay, so they're not calculated in the
Correct.
tuition number. Thank you.
Correct.
Go ahead.
So just to be clear, so the tuition that says other LEA, that's for students specifically special education 7 to 12.
No, I think it includes all elementary and. District 4 condenses all three of those lines down to one.
Well, yes.
Oh, there's one student at MES with significant individualized program that includes the BCBA support, and they need a 2-on-1 ratio. So there's one in the elementary, to answer your question, and then there is one at the middle school.
Okay, so, I'm going to stop, take a step back. So the tuition of LEA includes pre-K to 12.
It could, it depends on.
Along with our special education staff that we're paying, going up to paying $555,000 from $289. Then we're going to have this tuition out of LEA that includes, could be elementary along with 7 through 12. Then is the tuition private, that can be pre-K through 12 as well.
Tuition, yeah, yep. So tuition private, they're not here.
No, I'm just making, because I was under the assumption when this conversation first started, that tuition out of LEA was specifically carved out for 7 through 12, because we have our own special education personnel here in the elementary school that we're looking to pay
Yes.
500, well, over probably.
Well, it's not just one, correct. It's not just one person, it's several staff members to support special ed. But we don't have every position here that is needed for the IEPs. So, Middleton doesn't have a PCBA on staff, so that's something we have to contract out.
And that comes out of the, I
Yes.
thought that came out of the other special, the contractor line.
Professional people services?
Yeah.
That's another line, that's contracted services.
So we need clarification on what's coming out of which line item for elementary and other.
Okay. So they're not all, so in special education, that's all your services for all your kids. It's not necessarily broken out by middle school or by school. But we can provide, whatever, and give you that information as far as which student is receiving what service.
I'm just, as you're talking and I'm kind of trying to process all this, is some of these increases due to differences in the new tuition agreement or no? I look at these numbers and there's a drastic increase in some of these lines from years past. And although I'm not going to say that there isn't an increase of students with some form or fashion of need, I feel that if we've changed from numbers past to what's being proposed, is there really that drastic of a change in need here in the school, or were we doing things differently in years past as far as how we were addressing?
There's a few different, it's all these factors. So yes, it's an increase in need. Yes, it's an increase in cost. The special ed cost, that's statewide problem where there's no regulation on the increasing costs in services, transportation, staff, contracted service staffing. They increase 5% every year, whatever they decide to increase that. And then the tuition agreement itself, it is, although it was new, effective last year, the language for special ed is not new. So what is said in the last 10-year agreement and this 10-year agreement is that special ed expenses are above and beyond the tuition amount. However, Governor Wentworth, because of new agreements with other districts, they're charging everybody the same. So the high school, the middle school and high school can no longer absorb those services, can no longer absorb those costs. So when the special ed teachers are providing specialized instructions to kids, when the case manager is doing the case management, running the meetings with parents, speech and language services, which we have on staff, we have to charge the districts for those services. So it's aligning with what we're charging. We're charging all the districts in the same way. So that is different from years past as well. One way that we wanted to provide a strategy for Middleton to decrease, we decreased the proposed budget by $100,000 and put a position in a warrant article so that you could have your own employee at Kingswood working 7 through 12 to do your own case management of the students and to provide some specialized instruction. So that was as a way to, kind of offset those costs. And then you also have more oversight to decisions in those meetings.
So, and that's gonna be in a warrant article?
It'll be,
coming
if
up.
the board approves that, the board still has to approve that, but that's a position, we proposed that last year as well in a warrant article, it didn't pass. But that's what we as a district have put forward to the board, so the board can decide if they would like that in a warrant article.
Do you have the numbers of kids that are up at the middle school and high school to support? It just would be interesting to see how much money in that line is going to the kids that are up there versus down to.
I can get those numbers here. I don't think I have those, I think I provided those in the past, but that's something I can get
And
for
then
you.
also with the LEA position, last year the warrant article said 6th grade through 12. And it was for the whole continuity of that child making that big transfer. Is that now not going to be the case?
I
That's
think it
not
could,
come to the board yet, so that hasn't even been discussed. I don't know what's being proposed or what we would do.
You mean the warrant article?
We haven't seen it, so I don't know. I understand that, was a concern, so I didn't see it myself.
so we proposed that, or at least we reviewed that in the preliminary review on page 7. It's slide 14, warrant articles. It's in today's packet. And it was in last month's packet. It's slide 14, page 7. I'm sorry, you were asking about the grade levels. So last year, that's correct. We proposed 6 through 12. And that can, that's, there's a benefit either way, I think. Originally, we had thought of 6 through 12 because, when students are here in grade 6, it would be helpful to have a case manager who is familiar with the 7 through 12, and then they can help with that transition. I think this year there was a thought to, let's keep it at 7 through 12 so that person, because it's a fairly large caseload, to stay, in the Wolfboro area. But, you know, that's an assignment, certainly could go either way. Other questions? Would you like to continue questions?
Just, I guess the one last comment or question on this is, you know, we didn't run into a deficit, or we didn't run in under budget, over budget last year, and we're looking to increase this line, just the special education by $750,000. So I just don't understand how that, such an increase can happen in 1 year. Because I would have expected, in this thing, I would have expected to see we would have strain, we might have been gone into deficit from this past year because we didn't have the money. Because, and then all of a sudden saying, yeah, we have to raise, but all of a sudden going to, we had just enough money to pay bills, and we had to use extra revenue to pay the insurance, that insurance piece, but now we need to, in order to operate next year, we need an additional $750,000.
Correct, but look at where we are currently for this operation on those two line items. We've got less than 1% for the contracted, or what is it, the pupil services. And we're in December, and then we've got 20% left for the LEAs. So we're going to be over budget on those this year, which is where they're saying the anticipated increase is coming from.
The student who requires the 2-on-1 came in this year. So that is, the support is $172,000.
And I'm not disputing that, and I'm not saying the support, so at that point, I guess I would say, would it be more efficient or cost efficient to private tuition? 172,000, I'm just saying, I don't know if that's what we look at to say, you know.
It's gonna cost you $300,000 to send them to one of these other places.
Well, I don't know, that's what I'm saying, is we gotta look at.
So that's up to the special education team. And legally, we have to educate the student in the least restrictive environment. So first, you support them in the public school.
Right, no, I understand that, and as far as saying, but, you know, like, what's the best option for everybody, not, yeah, I'm just, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Did we have more questions from the board about the budget? Yeah. Oh, I knew Heather said she had a bunch, so.
So also, Heather, so you talked about the school bus, do you know what that increase is going to be for the school bus driver?
We have to do a special meeting for that.
She's asking drivers.
Oh, the drivers?
School bus, yeah.
I think we have to run that for the salary, but that would be an adjustment that would have to be made.
I was just wondering if you might have had a number idea of what that might be.
I don't, because I don't know how many years of service they had, because they're flat across the board right now. All right, I'm on page 4, under the improvement of instructions and function. You've got staff development at 10,000. It was a proposal to 11. What's that?
That's the teacher's professional development per contract.
And that did increase to 11,000 for next year?
CBA.
Okay. Then what's the instructional improvement of 8,000?
That is your administrator, and that's in her contract as well.
Okay.
That's the principal contract.
And then general supplies, I don't know why I'm just asking, because it went from nothing to 600, and we didn't spend anything last year. So what is that for?
This is in
It's the same as improvement of instruction and function.
I think we got a purpose for that. You want to see it?
Yeah,
This is why
she
we
used the microphone. Heather. It's fine.
And you'll be a camper that way.
So that $600 reflected assessment programs that we need and supplies that we need for teachers in order to deliver instruction. And we were not able to purchase something in that line, so I was planning ahead for next year to be able to purchase those supplies for classrooms.
I mean, any chance you could give us an example of what supplies?
So that specific program is IMSE. That is a program that we use for reading instruction. It's a science of reading program, and there was a large update to the IMSE programs. We have the old guides. We are looking to purchase new guides to align with the current teacher professional development that they have.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Okay.
So now on page 5, school board services, contracted services of 3,000, what is that for?
That is your E-rate fee, annual fee to pay E-rate to do the rebate for the technology and the internet. It's a federal program,
Okay.
and the revenues exceed the $3,000 cost, but the revenues are showing in the revenue. I think this past year, Middleton received, I saw it today, I was working, $6,000 in E-rate.
So I'm looking at the legal budget, which 25 actual is just under 35,000. And we have a budget for 15.
So we level funded that one from this year to next year, no increase.
What did we spend last year for?
You negotiated with the teachers union,
So that was the 34 that we spent last year.
plus the deliberative session, which is at one.
So
And
we're-
you also, last year, you also had a second deliberative session.
Yes, with 2 deliberative.
Two deliberatives with the attorney, and then you won't have one next year, so we level funded it.
So the year before that, what did we?
No teachers union, so you didn't need as much.
Right.
And we budgeted 5,000 last year. The year before, in 2024, I'd have to look it up.
I'm just curious what a normal, non-collective bargaining
Especially
agreement.
isn't normal year
Yeah.
anymore. And I do want to let you know, we received notice from the lawyer's office that the rates are going up slightly. Which they were kind enough to send them along. They did not.
Fiscal services on page 6, dues and fees, what's that for?
Is that $3,000 or am I making something else up?
Yes, that is.
That is the bank fees that
Okay,
the district. Okay.
great. So we mentioned that one of the questions of the public input was the upkeep of the path that's in there. So when I'm looking at care and upkeep of the grounds, is the budget we have for that to include those costs?
I would have to get someone out there to quote us on that, to know the answer to that.
I mean, is that something our current facilities people can do, or is that something that's not?
So how long is the path? What kind of upkeep is required? I don't know.
My understanding is it's the evacuation route for the school. So it goes from here down to the municipal building. So have everyone then, it's just all school.
Right, is that along a roadway, or is it?
No, it's inside, it's that pathway, it's inside off the road, that's why that's why the Eagle Scout did it, is so that nobody would have to go on the road.
Right, I know it gets to that, but then you have to walk around the fence to get to the rest of it. It's not clear unless
Well, I don't
it's a
know,
whole
I
fence.
don't know, I
Yeah,
just
you
know.
can go through the fence.
Yeah,
There's a way around it.
no, I don't know about that. but-
You're talking where it goes down to the basketball court?
Yes,
Yeah,
right, so there's
yeah.
that little. it was
You
like
can go,
an
I know you can go around, I'm not sure if you go skirt around it or if they moved it. I haven't gone out there, but I know you can walk around.
I mean, you would know better how does that qualify as an evacuation route? We have to go around the fence to get around it even. I know, we gotta scale the fence, it's hardcore to get out.
No, so actually, it's open, like, you don't have to go all the way down to the basketball court.
Oh, no,
It's
yeah,
around.
no,
It's
no,
open.
but even if you walk up, my recollection is it was gated off pretty close to the road.
No, it's.
No, it's further down,
Okay,
below the path.
but it's not, yeah, definitely not clear through that brush at all.
It looks like you go to the top, like if you're getting ready to go up to the street.
Well, he clicked, that's what that project was.
Yeah, it's like there's that little sign
All the way down.
on the right, and you can go, it looks like you can go straight down to town hall.
Yes.
or Municipal.
That was the project.
And it's like a straight shot, there's even like a
Okay,
bench.
so then it connects from where the end of that path comes from the parking lot of the town hall.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a.
And it goes straight through to where that walking trail is, where the little sign, the story trail?
Yes.
Come straight down, yeah, come straight
It
down.
goes straight onto the sidewalk.
Okay.
So it sounds like it's, yeah, our path, it's gravel, it's 0.2 miles, and only would be needed in an evacuation emergency.
Which I can clear it, because we don't know what it's gonna be.
Correct, yeah. And I imagine if there are drills, that would be part of it, right?
Are you looking at me? I mean, I'll speak to it if you want me to. Well, myself and Ivy actually discussed it today.
Well, and I want to make sure we have funds to cover, that's why I'm asking, because we're doing budget.
So we discussed it today, we discussed, after having our safety meeting, we met today and we discussed it, and it was one of the things that came up in discussion is, you know, come mid-January or February, when there's potentially 2.5, 3 feet of snow out there, first graders, second graders are more than likely possibly not going to be able to make it through that, at which point are we now utilizing the road like we would have before? And we didn't come up with a solid answer for that question as of yet, but what we basically said was it's one of those things where the safety group here at the school, that's something that they'll have to just monitor in the event of an emergency here. In the inaccessibility of that trail, we would basically divert to Plan B, which would be to go down the road like past plans. Unless you guys were to discuss and decide to maintain it, then obviously that would remain the constant route throughout the whole school.
So it sounds like it's snow.
Yeah, snow would be the big concern. Other than that, it stays pretty open, other than, you know, foliage in the fall and things like that. But snow is really the only major concern.
So I what would you recommend, to quote it out or to use the alternate access route?
What I'd like,
What I'd like to do is be able to continue to have some conversations as a safety team. I think Chief and I started troubleshooting this today, but there's more of a conversation we have to have in order to have an appropriate plan to ensure child safety if we have to use that. I think, the goal is that we never have to use it as an evacuation route. That would be first and foremost in all the preventative things that we do. But there are a number of us who need to meet in order to suss out an exact plan for should we be maintaining this or should we be pivoting to the roadway, which I believe is what has been done in the past during the winter months when there is an untenable amount of snow on that pathway.
Because the alternative would be, it sounds like it's too long, just a shovel.
Yes.
So it would be renting or hiring someone with like a sidewalk clearing type of, a snow blower, or I was thinking of the people who drive. Like that sounds perfect.
So does the school currently, what does the school currently use for the walking paths outside of the snow blower? So we would use the snow blower on the path.
Right.
I don't know if it's electric.
It is kind of a long,
If not, then we would have to, otherwise we would have to contract out or purchase it's.
Is this not something that if we had a snow blower, one of the custodians could do?
so we have the snow blower. but not sure if it's too long for that, if the path is too long.
So if it's gas, then we can, but if it's electric, we wouldn't.
Okay, my only question is, do we need anything to the budget? I'm hearing you don't have answers to that yet, so that would be nice, okay. My only reason right now.
Well, also on the legal side, if you were gonna call it an evacuation route, and if it's not clear and something does happen,
We have an alternative, we absolutely have an alternative, so, and it sounds like that's been in place in the past. Absolutely.
I mean, having walked that path for years in the past, the roadside is not clear, so we had to stop walking to school as soon as the plows came through because they plowed over the walkway. So just from my experience, unless someone is going to clear, it's not even a sidewalk because it's not paved, it's just a kind of worn down path that we would walk on the roadside, which is really not totally safe. But that was the alternative, and so that, once the plows come through, that's not passable, or clear for walking, so something else.
We do have legal numbers if you get that.
Yes, thank you.
So for the fiscal year 2024, $6,700 was expended from that line.
Does anyone else have a question? So the procedure on this is we're supposed to vote on it as it is, but then are we allowed to change it later or not?
So you have a few options.
Okay.
You could, you do need to adopt a budget by January 13th. So when you do that, it could be tonight or it could be at your January meeting. You could vote to adopt this budget as presented. That could be a motion. Or you could move to adopt this budget with an edit, and you could make suggestions for an edit and let the board vote.
Well, I'm just wondering if we vote to adopt it and then we decide before January that we want to change something, can we edit it then?
I have not heard of that ever happening, because if you vote to adopt it, that's saying that this is your adopted budget. So I have not, I would have to look into that, I've not heard of that happening. You also should, oh, absolutely. So yes, it's, usually that vote is final, but you do have another meeting, so I guess you could vote again. Also, you should vote on the warrant articles that were proposed.
I would not, I was going to say, I'm not prepared to vote tonight. I need additional information. I think we need to nail down the nursing contract. I want to see the revised figures after we have the bus driver salary, and we have a little bit more on the nursing to see where that puts us. Before I'm comfortable, I think there's a lot of special questions I have, so I will really ask to get some answers, and I can get them before Monday, I'll send it to the budget committee.
I also was not really comfortable with it tonight, and I also wasn't really sure we should vote it up Rebecca. So, that was my thought, but does anybody have another one?
My other one is let's not wait till January, let's try to schedule another meeting before then, or maybe next Wednesday, to go around and get some of that information. And I did check with Rebecca, she was available next Wednesday, if we just do, want to do next Wednesday, or before. I'd like to see the revisions to it before. I would also propose, I'm not going to feel about it, I would like to lower the legal down to 10. I think it needs to be 15. I think we would pay years now what we spend on would be a traditional full year.
just want to make sure I understand right. So the school bus driver, the proposal there, that is a pay scale, ultimately to remain in effect, I would presume, for years to come. My recommendation would be, on that aspect, would be to do it as a warrant article. And the only reason I say that is because if you don't, and 3 out of the 4 or 5 of you are no longer on the board next year, that can be removed. If it's a warrant article, then it has to be removed by the people, as opposed to the board.
And go on the warrant article, it's not part of this rebate.
Yes, just like the DPT, it's a choice of the board.
It just makes it more concrete, as opposed to, it takes more than just a board to remove it. It would take, at town meeting, the townspeople would have to vote to remove it.
But then you can't give them waivers unless we
Well,
return the warrant.
no, if the warrant passes, you'd be able to. But the other thing you could do, is, you could ultimately vote to give them a raise for this year, and then put the pay scale in as a warrant. I don't mean to overcomplicate, I'm just thinking long-term.
Right now, in this budget, there's a 3.3% increase on those drivers. And what I can do is I can take what this would do to cost out for next year above and beyond. So just that increase would be in the warrant article. But I want to let you know that once that warrant article passes, that gets put back into the operating budget because that's what the function is.
Right.
So
So
it
we
would
have
continue.
like the teacher salaries, we can't revisit it.
You no need to know for that 1 year, but what I'm saying is, the raise is based on their current salary, $21.22. I have budgeted 3.3% increase in the operating budget right now, and I would recommend that you keep that there, and the increase amount, whatever that calculates out to, be the warrant article.
So that if
Yes.
it fails, they still get the
They just get the 3.3 on the current.
Because what you're, we put in the warrant article would be the difference of, what their increase would be with the additional.
Correct.
Just from an employee aspect, I would be happy and thankful for that. But then if the following year the board changes or the dynamic changes, now all of a sudden we're back at square one again. That's all.
Do you want to have that draft for the next meeting, we can talk about it?
I was gonna say, I'd have to think about how
Yeah, I
to
don't
vote
know.
on that. But we could definitely talk about that.
Well, I'll have the numbers, and I can certainly have that drafted, so I'd rather be more prepared than not be prepared. So.
Yeah, agreed.
I like that suggestion, though, it's a good point, but.
So we'll bring all those numbers, you're not voting on, if you're not voting on this tonight, we'll bring all of that to the next meeting. And the information on all the warrant articles. So, and just to clarify, the nurse is not in the operating budget, that's also a warrant article, the increase over the currently budgeted for nurse contract.
Captain, quick question, when are you going to meet, they'll vote on it, you'll go to the budget committee to do, when is the date that you need to enter your numbers into the IRA?
Well, the date to post is the 26th of January.
So you should be fine, Candy, with the 19th if you want to have a different public hearing, you have to vote on it. Just, I just want to make sure everybody is aligned with dates.
If you guys can try not to wait until the 11th hour with last year.
Well, that's why I'm looking to do a meeting next week.
Because we had 0 wiggle room and we got no answers, no questions answered. Last year, and it was a big mess, it was a big fail in so many different ways. The budget committee could have turned around and said, we're not gonna vote and postpone the hearing, and then you would have had to answer to the state. We don't want to be the bad guys and do that, but I'm not gonna go into a hearing and be put in a situation like I was last year. So I would just ask that you keep in mind and give us wiggle room, because if we don't get things answered, I'm gonna make a motion to delay the meeting and have another hearing until we get our questions answered properly.
We encourage you to ask any questions, and that's why we've strived to come, we've
Well,
attended your
we
meetings.
asked questions, we weren't getting the answers. That was our big problem last year, is we were getting no answers last year.
I hope it's an improvement this year. We wanted to provide you with information and be visible, be present, and answer questions, come to your meetings, and provide as much information, so we did the presentation twice. So hopefully it's better than last year.
So, we've decided that we don't want to vote tonight. Do we want to schedule another meeting for next week, or do we want to hold off until June? Or do we want to come up with another date other than next week? Okay, so we need to find out whether the superintendent is available next week also.
We have to get back to you.
Okay.
So I would look to try and reschedule as soon as we can. Including a something, if not, we go around to the weeks. Come back on that.
But what do you guys think about, should we schedule another meeting, or should we just plan to do it at our meeting?
I like to say.
Okay, so what you could do is vote to authorize us to work with you to check everybody's calendars to schedule a meeting. Because if you set a date right now, and then some people can't come, you still have to hold it, and some people won't be there. So we've been through this before.
Understood. Okay, so,
Make everybody vote or something.
we will, everybody look at your calendar, and we will try to come up with another meeting time. Is that something
I think you need to make a motion.
okay, Heather?
I'll make a motion to revisit the budget prior to the January meeting at a time that works for everyone's schedule as soon as possible. How's that sound?
I'll second the motion.
Did that work? Can you say that again,
I know. Good, motion to
Revisit the budget.
revisit the budget prior to the January meeting, after consulting with everyone's calendars as soon as practical.
To hold another meeting.
Hold another meeting as soon as practical.
That's a second.
Okay. Did that work?
I think that.
I have the motion.
Okay.
And all in favor? Aye. Okay, that was all. Okay, that puts us at community relations. Sam, you already said stuff. Yeah, I have no updates. Sam has no updates for community relations, which brings us back to academic affairs, which I know that Sam had real quick. So Sam,
Fill it up on the lines, because I don't need all.
very
Do you want to do that?
yeah, I think we aren't at 8:30 yet, so I think we should.
And it's for voting, so.
Right.
Okay, so we have 17 policies that are up for adoption for the first read today. These,
No, just for
first read, yes.
Just for.
Sorry, not that hard, just for
For first read. Okay, so I'm going to move through that list. There are 17 of them, so we have DAF, Administration of Federal Grants, DAFB, Equivalence in Instructional Staff and Materials, DGA, Authorized Signatures, DK, Payments, Checks, and Manifests, EEAEA, Mandatory Drug and Alcohol Testing, School Bus Drivers and Contracted Carriers, EHAA, Computer Security, Email and Internet Communications, EHAB, Data Governance and Security, EHB, Data Records Retention, GADA, Employment References and Verification, GBCD, Background Investigation and Criminal Records Check, GBEF, School District Internet Access for Staff Volunteers, GCO,
any questions about them, let either Sam or I or Caroline know. And those are posted on the website, Kathy? Yes. So if anyone in the public also has any questions about those, let one of the three of us know and we can bring it back. Okay, that sounds great. Okay, advanced planning, we have the Middleton Elementary School Holiday Concert tomorrow at 6. We talked about that already. December vacation from 12/24 to 1/2. There is a finance committee meeting and academic affairs committee meeting before the school board meeting on January 7th. And the school board meeting is January 7th. So the finance committee and the academic affairs committee are at 5, right? Yeah, 5. And they're both open to the public. Okay, so we have more public input. Okay. Can we hand them the microphone? I know you don't like it, but I don't like it either.
So it's really not a question, it's kind of just noticing, obviously, that huge increase to the budget next year, and there's not much changing where we're not seeing a significant amount of staff. You know, it's not like you're hiring like 5 paraprofessionals and nothing big is changing. It's the status quo, but yeah, it's almost $1 million more than another person. So my concern is especially after last month with the presentation of the test scores and seeing how, quite frankly, they're pretty bad. And then seeing that we're just not changing anything, but we're just throwing a lot more money at ultimately what is a problem, it's concerning. I'm concerned as a taxpayer, I'm concerned as a mom, I'm concerned as a mom of a child who uses a lot of special needs services here, and a lot of times he's not getting some of the things that he needs because of the staffing. And so I'm really just concerned that if we're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we're hoping for a better or different outcome, it's not happening. And looking at the charts and looking at those test scores being consistently low, and seeing those kids going through the years and following them and not seeing any kind of significant improvement is really concerning. And then it's even more concerning to see that we are throwing a significant more amount of money, but we're not changing anything else except for the price tag. So I hope you guys have noticed that as well, and you guys have a plan to change and improve it, because we're paying for it heavily now, but in 10, 20 years from now, when these kids are adults and they cannot function as adults because they don't have the proper education and knowledge, society is going to be paying for it even more. And you're alienating a very large portion of this community with the cost of it.
So my question, I guess the comment, Kathy, is mostly to you, is in the adjustments column, we have a total of,
Are you looking in the financial statement?
I'm looking at this month's financials.
Okay.
It's the 66,705 is the adjustment, so we have the budget, and then we have the adjustments, and we get to the GL budget. And I know I've asked
teachers, warrant article, the teachers union contract.
Oh, now that you say that, now I remember, thank you. My only other comment is that, I know you talked about like the whole school bus drivers thing, and then that incorporate like a, going forward, a cost of living adjustment. Well, we give the teachers a cost of living adjustment along with their contract amount, correct?
Their increase is based on
That's
their
part of the cost of living. We have contractual pay increases every year.
Right, but, so, they're not getting a COLA on top of the contractual
No.
increase?
No.
Okay, that's, all right, just so clear.
Is there any other public input?
I just wanted to ask about the Student First Avenue. You said you contacted legal about it, and they said you didn't have to have it until the deliberate session.
correct.
Because all the reading I've been doing, it says it has to be done before you adopt the budget, the school board.
And I have instructions from my association, school boards, the ASBO is Association of School Business Officials. I was working on it and I had conflicting information. I asked for permission to reach out to legal counsel, and yeah, she came back saying it's for deliberative session or it's annual
Okay,
council.
I'm going to double check with Senator Murphy, since he's one of the co-sponsors on that, and to double check on that, so I know, because according to all the reading I did, it was adoption, before the adoption of, which is handy for people, it's for people like us, who are sitting out here, we want to understand where this money's going, so those graphs and those charts are going to tell us where that money's going. And here you are setting a budget, and we're like, so I'm going to reach out to Senator Murphy and ask him.
No, and I hear what you're saying, is there's a requirement, what is the item that we don't get until the end of December that would make it impossible for us to comply?
It's the, what did I say it was?
It's
Consumer
something.
price index, the update to that doesn't come through until the middle of December.
So we
So I
can't,
couldn't do it,
It's based on,
because I
based on
started
the
doing it
December,
before Thanksgiving.
it's based on the December CPI.
It's very specific.
and I read it also, there's no definition in there of what adopting it means. And so when you think about it, we're proposing this, we call it adopting, but we're proposing it, it's gonna get adopted at deliberative session. That's when it's officially adopted by the town. So when that came back from legal counsel, I was like, all right, that makes sense.
Well, I guess I would say it would be adopted when it's voted on and voted.
That's the number that gets voted on, the adopted would be deliberative session, where you
Okay.
set that.
Right, so everybody's interpretation, right? So
Right.
it's like, because I
But
would
that
say,
actually-
I would say this is the proposed budget that goes on, and what gets passed at the ballot would be.
So, I'm being told I'm not supposed to let you guys go back and forth. So, I'm sorry. But I think you got it, that it's, the legal said that we adopted the deliberative session. Was there any other public comment on top of that? Okay. Did board members have closing comments? I forgot the
Thank you, Packer House, for all you're doing to get funds in for the teachers and for the kids. I think I really appreciate all of your efforts. Great job, really, really great job. And also thank you to the budget committee for continuing to work with us. We appreciate your patience as we gather information and try and get you all that you need to have an educated, input back and forth to us about what we need to do with our budget. So thank you.
Sorry. I just wanted to, for the next meeting, we have the attendance numbers and the, whatever they're called, the number of kids in elementary school, middle school, and enrollment numbers, sorry. Also, thank you for your patience, since I said I know I am not Rebecca. And we do have to go into non-public session for legal. So I need a motion.
Motion to move to non-public, it's only one personnel function.
Okay. It's personal and legal. Okay, so Heather Reese go into non-public for personnel and legal. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Nicole seconds, and we have to do a, roll call. So Sam, Heather, Nicole, and I from here also. Thank you.